The forest had already taken 4 people. A family of campers went into Blackroot Woods on a Friday. By Sunday, they had not come back. Their car was still in the parking lot. Their tent was still standing. But they were gone. Sheriff Dale Rourke called Marcus Webb. Marcus was the best tracker in the county. He had worked 30 years in these woods. He knew every trail, every river bend, every dead tree. If someone was lost, Marcus could find them. "Take 2 people," Dale said. "Keep the team small." Marcus chose Fenn, a quiet young man who moved through the forest like smoke. And he chose Carol, a nurse who could handle anything without crying. 3 people, simple enough. They drove to the trailhead on Monday morning. The sky was white. The air smelled like wet bark and something else. Something underneath the bark smell. Something old. Marcus stood at the tree line and looked in. "How long do we have?" Carol asked. "Snow comes Thursday," Marcus said. "We move fast." Fenn was already looking at the ground. He crouched low and touched the mud. "Something heavy walked here," he said, "but the steps are wrong." "Wrong how?" Carol asked. Fenn looked up. His face had no expression, but his eyes were moving fast. "Too far apart," he said. By the second day, the trees had changed. Marcus had walked this forest 100 times. He knew it like his own house. But now the trails felt longer than they should. The river was on the wrong side. He checked his compass 3 times and it said north, but north felt wrong. They found the campers' backpacks near a frozen creek. The bags were torn open, not by an animal. The zippers were pulled down first, then the bags were torn. Whatever opened them knew what a zipper was. The food was gone. Everything else was still there. Clothes, maps, medicine, a child's shoe. Carol picked up the shoe and didn't say anything. Fenn walked a slow circle around the campsite. He kept his eyes on the ground. Then he stopped. "Come look at this," he said quietly. They came. In the mud near the water there were footprints, human feet, no shoes. The toes were pressing very deep into the mud, like whoever made them was carrying something very heavy. The prints went into the creek and did not come out on the other side. That night they made camp and ate from their packs. The forest was silent in a way that forests should not be. No wind, no animals, no sound at all except for the fire. At 2 in the morning, Fenn sat up. "Do you hear that?" he whispered. Marcus listened. "Nothing." "I don't hear anything," Carol said. "That's what I mean," Fenn said. He was staring at the trees. His face was pale in the firelight. And then Marcus saw it too, or almost saw it. A shape between the trees. Tall, very tall, too tall. It was standing perfectly still, and the darkness was wrapped around it like clothing. Marcus reached for his flashlight. The shape was gone. "Wind moved a branch," Marcus said. Nobody agreed with him, but nobody said that either. On the 3rd day, Fenn stopped eating. He said he wasn't hungry. His face was still calm, but he was walking differently now, faster, pulling ahead of the group. Marcus had to call him back twice. "Fenn, stay together." Fenn stopped and turned. He smiled. Marcus had worked with Fenn for 6 years. He knew that smile. It was the right shape, but something behind it was different. Like someone had copied the smile from a photograph. "Sorry," Fenn said. "I thought I heard something." "What did you hear?" Carol asked. Fenn tilted his head slightly. "Crying," he said, "like a child." They searched toward the sound. Marcus followed Fenn because Fenn was the tracker. They walked for an hour through thickening trees. The sky disappeared above them. And then Marcus stopped. "Fenn," he said. Fenn stopped. "There is no sound," Marcus said. "There hasn't been a sound for an hour. You've been walking us in a circle." Fenn turned around slowly. His eyes were different. The pupils were large. Too large for the daylight. "I'm very hungry," he said. His voice was almost normal. Almost. "You haven't eaten since yesterday," Carol said carefully. She reached into her pack and held out food. Fenn looked at it. He looked at it for a long time. He licked his lips. "Not that," he said softly. "That's not what I'm hungry for." That night Carol spoke to Marcus away from the fire. "We have to go back," she whispered. "Something is wrong with him." "I know," Marcus said. "He bit his own hand this morning," she said. "I saw him. He didn't make a sound." Marcus looked at Fenn across the fire. Fenn was sitting very still, staring into the dark between the trees. Not at the fire. Never at the fire anymore. "We go at dawn," Marcus said. But at dawn Fen was gone. They never found Fen in the woods. They found the 4 missing campers. 3 of them at least. They were alive, but silent. Their eyes were open too wide. They walked out of the trees on their own, like sleepwalkers, and they followed Marcus and Carol to the trail without speaking. The 4th camper, the father of the family, was not with them. Marcus did not ask where he was. Looking at the 3 who returned, he decided he did not want to know. Search and rescue took the survivors. The sheriff closed the trail. 2 weeks passed. Then Fen came back. He walked out of the forest on a Tuesday morning. A hunter saw him on the road and called 911. Fen was thin, very thin. His clothes were torn and dirty. His feet were bare and not bleeding, which the hospital doctor said was medically impossible given the cold and the terrain. Carol went to see him in the hospital. He looked like Fen. He smiled like Fen. He remembered her name, remembered the search, remembered the campfire on the first night. He answered every question correctly. But he would not eat. Every meal they brought him he pushed away. He turned his face from the smell of cooked food. When Carol brought soup, his upper lip pulled back slightly, like the smell was offensive, and then he controlled his face and smiled again. "I'm just not hungry," he said. "Fen, you haven't eaten in 3 weeks." "I ate in the forest," he said simply. Carol sat down slowly. "What did you eat?" Fen looked at her for a long time. His pupils were still large. Even here in the bright hospital room they were large. "Whatever I could find," he said. On the 3rd day, a night nurse heard him speaking in his room. She opened the door. He was alone, standing at the window looking out at the parking lot. He was whispering. She leaned in to hear. "Why did you stop feeding me?" She looked where he was looking. The parking lot was empty, wet pavement under yellow lights. She asked him who he was talking to. He turned from the window and the large pupil smile came back. "Nobody," he said. "Bad dream." But he had been awake. Carol told Marcus everything. They sat in his truck outside the hospital. It was evening. Marcus listened and did not speak for a long time after she finished. "He asked me something today," Carol said. "What?" "He grabbed my arm when I was leaving. Not hard, just grabbed it." She looked at her arm. He said, "Why did you stop feeding me?" And I said, "Fen, we bring you food every day." And he looked at me like I had said something very stupid. Marcus stared at the hospital building. "He wasn't asking you," Marcus said. "Then who?" Marcus didn't answer. He was thinking about the shape between the trees. The tall shape that stood too still and was wrapped in darkness. He was thinking about how the forest had felt wrong, how the trails had stretched, how the compass had lied. He was thinking about old stories. Stories his grandfather told, that his grandfather's grandfather had told before him. Stories about the deep woods and the things that lived in the hunger of winter. Things that started as men. Things that ate and could not stop eating. Things that once they had tasted, could not remember why they ever stopped. "Something fed him out there," Marcus said quietly, "and now it feels owed." Carol shook her head slowly. "That doesn't make sense." "No," Marcus agreed. They sat in silence. Snow was beginning to fall, soft and slow, covering the parking lot. Marcus's phone rang. It was the night nurse. He answered. "Mr. Webb," she said. Her voice was careful, controlled, the voice of someone trying not to sound afraid. "Your colleague in room 14, he's gone. Window was open. Security is checking the cameras, but..." A sound in the background, somewhere outside the hospital. High, distant, like an animal almost, like a person almost. The nurse stopped talking. Marcus closed his eyes. The sound came again. From the tree line maybe, from the darkness where the parking lot lights stopped reaching. He knew what it sounded like. He didn't want to know, but he did. It sounded like someone very hungry. It sounded like it was getting closer. And underneath it, if you listened, if you were foolish enough to keep listening, it sounded like a voice. "Why did you stop? Why did you stop? Why did you stop feeding me?"